These minimum wage protests that are going around the country have something slightly in common with what's going on with Verizon, the fact that workers feel they're getting the short end of the stick. Well, this sandwich shop owner is bracing for the fallout from that and for $15 an hour minimum wage because those workers at his restaurants could be affected. There could be fewer of them. He joins us right now, Ashley Morris. Ashley, good to have you. You know, you were concerned when this first came up that this could boomerang on you and your workers. You have 300 of these shops, and you know, a lot of your workers are paid at the minimum wage. Many of them would have to see, under this new law, a big bump in that. Can you afford that?
Yeah, well, you know, here's the thing about the franchise model, is that we have the benefit of group thinking, we have the benefit of group purchasing and group support. And so, you know, in the restaurant business, like all restaurants, we work within a defined economic model. And so when that economic model is flexed for whatever reason or forced to adapt, then I think the industry as a whole gets together and does what's necessary to preserve that economic model. And so while I'm generally for, you know, higher increase in wages, because that's a good thing, and you've heard the arguments for and against on both sides, you know, what concerns me is how fast they've tried to move it. And so by moving it to $15 an hour so fast, I see many more paths to disappointment than I do to success with respect to this issue. And I feel a little bit scared for the middle class, which represents the highest class of people, and their quality of life and how they're going to live. Because what happens is you have, you know, teachers and sanitation workers and utility workers and entry level, the list goes on, of all these other jobs that, you know, now can go to school, get $100,000 in debt on an education, and come in and make the same amount of money as the 16-year-old who just got a job at Capriotti sandwich shop is making. And so what happens is, you know, you have a disparity of people who want to go get that $100,000 loan and go out and get a career. And so, you know, in order to get those people to really, you know, incentivize those people to do that, you're going to see the wages go up there as well.
But, you know,
and when those wages go up...
No, I understand what you're saying, but to a point, I had an advocate of this higher wage, a $15 count, you know, saying that when I raised your argument that would people pay more for the product that they're getting to make sure workers are getting paid more, she said yes. Now, knowing Capriotti's as I do, that, you know, that people are happy to pay a premium for your sandwiches because they're so good. But to pay for this $15 minimum wage, then they would have to pay a little more. You'd have to, you know, carry these costs on. In some way, you could cut only so much before you'd have to raise the underlying cost of the product. Do you think your customers would pay more to address the cost, the higher costs you're paying for labor?
Well, certainly in our case, you know, we sell a premium product. All of our proteins are roasted in-house. They're fresh. They're made daily. They're very high quality, unlike any of our competition. So our customer is not a price-sensitive customer. Having said that, I don't think only raising prices is the issue. I think that that's one piece of the puzzle, but what actually interests me is to see the innovation that's going to come from the restaurant industry as a whole. You know, as you see, when you have disruption to an industry, you get tremendous innovation. And so, you know, ultimately, I'm in some ways intrigued and excited to see what the future will hold for the industry.
But you must be bracing yourself for something. If it gets to 15, it's the law of the land in California, so it's going to get there in the next few years. What are you doing to prepare for that?
Sure. So again, we're focused on watching the industry as a whole. We've done the calculations within our model, and we understand, you know, essentially how every single year this flexes our model with respect to the bottom line. And, you know, look, we're a small business, and our franchisees within California and within the country, you know, our model is represented by, you know, dollars in versus dollars out, and we have a food and labor cost model that has to hit that 58%. And so at some point, if that model breaks down, you know, we have to make the adaptation to it. But you know, for us, what we've looked at so far is something that, you know, is concerning, but it isn't overly concerning. The house isn't on fire right this second, but we're going to continue to watch the industry, see what happens, and again, use that group thinking of the franchise model to come up with the best solution that becomes ultimately a win-win.
Ashley Morris, Capriotti's Sandwich Shop. Good seeing you again. Thank you very, very much.